From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA. Big news about your stocks, your bonds, and your four stimulus checks update of 2022. Today, the Dow is relatively flat, up 1%, 260 points. NASDAQ flat, up 1% and 53 points. And Brent crude, your price of gasoline, internationally flat as well at $112 a barrel. But not flat is your fourth stimulus check of 2022. A fourth stimulus check has landed in every U.S. state. And in this recording, stay to the very end because I'm going to show you how to get that fourth stimulus check that is now landed in every U.S. state. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. The membership newsletter. Then, step 3 is delivered to you Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Those four stimulus checks in every U.S. state are huge. They ain't $600. They are upwards of $80,000. Stay to the very end because I'm going to have more exciting news about these checks later in this recording. And I'm going to show you how to get them over today's broadcast. But the big news as we start a big afternoon is that Walmart reported corporate earnings today, and it was a major miss for Q1. I had projected this less than 24 hours ago. Meantime, the new housing numbers were released, and consumer sentiments in the housing industry down. The worst drop in a very long time. I already told you that the housing market is in recession. Here we go again. Number 3, we have big updates about that Federal Reserve for your SS 300 and its impact on inflation, in interest rates, and recession. And the latest details on that Federal Reserve are coming in today as the 10-year Treasury note pushes back up above 2.9% as well. Jay Powell is expected to talk in just a little bit. I'll have the latest details on his comments on Eating's LA tonight. It's at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. America's most watched show for financial news in prime time. Don't miss it then. But I have a preview of what he's likely to say because he talked last Friday as well. In fact, every Fed governor is talking across the board. And I'll have the latest comments on what they're doing with interest rates, what they're doing with inflation, and what that will do with recession. But later in this video, we got some big checks. A fourth stimulus check has landed in every U.S. state. It was sent out by Joseph Biden by executive order, did not need an act of Congress, and it's your opportunity to get those checks today. You ready for the news? I'm ready for the excitement. It's a big day. For May 17th, 2022, it's afternoon. And good afternoon, everybody. So excited for you. Are you excited? We are excited. A big fourth stimulus check has landed in every U.S. state, and viewers of this channel have gotten it. It's all the result of listening. It's all the result of pushing. A fourth stimulus check has now landed in every U.S. state, and we're going to go over how you get that check in this recording. You're not going to see this anywhere in broadcast media, print media, or cable news. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that I show you how to get those checks. I send you right into the application for you to get them, and yes, they're upwards of $80,000 as a fourth stimulus check. Huge. In this recording, we have a lot of breaking details. We're going to go over the latest corporate earnings from Walmart that came in. I told you I was going to look for this number less than 24 hours ago, and what happened? It was a miss. It's less than 2 weeks after Amazon was a major miss in its corporate earnings for Q1 2022. Next up, the housing starts. No housing sentiment among home builders. Bad news. A continuing erosion of the housing market as it's plummeting in recession, in my opinion. What were those housing numbers today? I have them in this recording. Next, we go over to retail sales. Were buyers buying more items in the month of April, or were they not? I'll go over the discretionary spending numbers and those retail sale numbers in just a second. Fascinating. Next up, the Federal Reserve and the 2.9% 10-year Treasury note. Yeah, the Treasury note is going up again. This ain't good for you because this impacts your wallet, but it's also good for you because of SS $300. I'll explain it later in this video. Then we go over to some student loan debt forgiveness. We'll go back to Build Back Better Act. And of course, we'll deal with 6 stimulus as well. Big news, big broadcast, big day, and welcome, and thank you for joining me. And in salute to our exiting press secretary, I'm wearing blue. Or as Canuck would say, you're wearing KC blue? No, I'm never wearing KC blue. So let's get to the news. The news today is that Walmart reported corporate earnings lower than expected, and this is good news for Build Back Better Act. Why? Because we have the number 1 and number 2 retailers in the United States in less than 1 month missing on those earning reports. And guess what Walmart actually talked about? Stimulus checks. Told you they were going to. It was less than 24 hours ago that I talked about how Amazon missed badly on their earnings reports 2 weeks ago. And that's what caused the stock market crash that continued the week after that and then the week after that. Amazon projected that its earnings were not going to rebound much this year and that the third quarter was going to be much worse. And this came as Joe Biden and Jeff Bezos were warring over the Build Back Better Act in the last 24 hours. Joe Biden took the last jab. He says it's all because I'm trying to support the Amazon unionize of those workers. Well, I said yesterday that I'm looking to see that Walmart number today, and if Walmart was going to report as disappointing numbers as Amazon. Well, while Amazon plummeted dramatically when it reported its miss, Walmart is down about 10% today, but not as dramatic as Amazon. Walmart said, according to its CEO, Doug McMillon, in a new statement obtained by LA News minutes ago, that its bottom line results were unexpected and reflected an unusual environment. The company shares were down 10% as the news broke Tuesday midday. Walmart reported that it had an unexpected and reflected an unusual environment in which the higher inventory levels, overstaffing, and fuel prices really hit the retailer. Number 1, the shipping costs for the fuel really killed them. Number 2, they had too much inventory, or the inventory came too late and then they couldn't sell it. They talk about specifically barbecues, and it is actually a colder winter than they anticipated. And then overstaffing, they brought people back from COVID, and they had too many people on staff. And this came as the broader measure of prices for goods and services increased at 8.3% year to date when we look at that CPI number last week. The CFO of Walmart explained a little bit more about this economic environment. Remember, this is all big news for your Build Back Better Act. Because if the nation's retailer says it's struggling, then you're struggling. Because if you don't have money to spend, then you're not spending at Walmart or Amazon or the major retailers. And that is why this is all good news for giving you Build Back Better Act. Now remember, what is Build Back Better Act? Build Back Better Act is a congressional bill that will give you $15,000 to $80,000 of additional checks on top of those 4 stimulus checks that have landed in every U.S. state. Let's say that again. A 4 stimulus check, not one, but multiple of them, have landed in every U.S. state across the board. And they were first detailed on this channel back at the end of March. They are in every U.S. state. Now, Build Back Better Act is different because these 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state were done by Joe Biden by executive order. The Build Back Better Act is a congressional bill. When Congress gets that done, more about that in a second, that will give you additional checks. How much? More about that in a second. But let's go back to the economic data that supports Build Back Better Act, because 2 things support Build Back Better Act: the midterm elections and bad economic data. Because the economy is not doing well, you need stimulus. And that's what, in fact, Walmart was referring to when addressing its year-to-date numbers. What do they actually mention? They mention a stimulus check. It was as though they were watching this channel. I told you yesterday that when you looked at Walmart, when you looked at Amazon in March of 2020, this is what I said yesterday before they reported corporate earnings, that millions of Americans, when they got that first stimulus check, went to Walmart and bought a television set, said Walmart CEO at the time. That was when COVID was starting. People didn't know how big it was. Then what happened after that? For the second stimulus check, people were a little bit more sensible in how they spent the money. This time around, when they were reporting the corporate earnings of the first quarter this year, you did have a third stimulus check, but you didn't spend it the same way. Here's what McMillon said minutes ago about stimulus checks. Given that stimulus checks happened last year, there was some benefit to those folks that eroded over time, and we look at the rest of the year, and that's something on our mind. This brings us back to what we talked about yesterday. When addressing the idea of Build Back Better Act, which is giving you money to spend money, does it help or does it hurt? Jeff Bezos says it hurts, it causes inflation. No, it doesn't, Jeff. In fact, he knows this, and Walmart knows this more than anyone else. And this is what I said yesterday. When you get a check, you spend the money at Amazon or Walmart or one of the major retailers. What happens? You help grow the economy. You help grow that business. You help grow the economy. That's what we call GDP. Positive GDP is great, shows the growth of the economy. Negative GDP is bad. Negative GDP under 0%, like negative 1%, is recession. So giving you a Build Back Better Act is good because what does it do? It keeps us away from recession by spurring growth in the economy. You don't want a negative growth. And what do we have at the moment? Negative growth. The GDP of the U.S. economy was supposed to be 7.1% in April, came in at 6.9%. Wall Street's projecting 4% by December. White House, 3.7%. Me, 0 or negative. Deutsche Bank, negative or 0. Both of us are projecting 2 years of recession starting in 2023. This is why you want stimulus. This is why you need stimulus. It prevents a recession. Does it create inflation, as Bezos addressed yesterday in those comments or war of words with the President of the United States? No, because when the federal government spends money, it doesn't cause inflation. It just increases the national deficit. Would you rather have inflation without recession, or would you rather have no recession and the same inflation? Probably the last. The recession is something we can solve with stimulus checks. Inflation is not caused by stimulus checks, nor prevented by stimulus checks. And that is what we learned today, of course, from those Walmart earnings. Shares of Walmart closed down on Monday, close of Monday at 148, but the stock had risen about 2.5% year to date. The company has $408 billion of market cap. When you look at Sam's Club, which of course is owned by Walmart, same-store sales increased 10%. But when you look at the bottom line numbers, this is where the retailer hurt today. What is else at issue that supports Build Back Better Act? Other economic data that came in today, I told you was going to come, was those housing numbers. You know, I love this week. I love last week. And why? Because I told you every day this week what's coming out in the economic news. I projected and I said, this is what I'm expecting. So far, my glooming doom projections are all on point. Home builder sentiments fell again in that news statement released today, as I projected as well. I said that the homeowner sentiment starts were going to fall, and they were. They fell to a 2-year low on declining demand and rising costs. And these numbers were released by the American Association of Home Builders, the Wells Fargo Housing Market Index, and it showed the lowest reading since June 2020. Ouch. Housing leads the business cycle, and housing is slowing, says the National Association of Housing Builders Chairman Jerry Connor, who develops homes in Savannah, Georgia. The number dropped 8 points to 78, and this is after it's been dropping in recent days. We see an inflection market. A point, says housing analyst Ivy Selman. Our survey did see a pickup in cancellation rates. We do see a trick up in incentives. This is as the mortgage rate is surging dramatically. The mortgage rate was 3.29% only this year. It's over 5%. Building material costs are up 19% year to date. Mortgage rates are up to a 12-year high. And new and existing homes are less than 50% of affordability. This is all comments by NAHT's chief economist Robert Deitz minutes ago. All good news for your Build Back Better Act, because why? If the economic data is bad, it supports doing Build Back Better Act. What is in Build Back Better Act? Let's recap. 3 classes of checks and 3 add-ons of checks to give you a lot of money. These are in addition to those 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. We're going to have more about these incredible checks in prime time on 80s LALATE, but there's $15,000 to $80,000 of 4 stimulus checks over 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. In that first add-on, $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. In that second add-on, $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. In that third add-on, the potential of MSC, a monthly stimulus check, $2,000 a month, $1,000 thereafter, represents the legislators for up to 6 months. Those are the incredible provisions that add on to the Build Back Better Act. What about the individual clusters? Well, the first cluster is hazard pay, 1 more year of the earned income tax credit for my essential workers. $3,600 of the CTC, 1 more year. $4,000 of elder care, new. $4,000 of care for young children, new. More money for nutrition, good. New home repairs, which is new. That is great for low-income community. $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. Wow. And lots of other items in that first cluster. In the second cluster, we have the paid leave. That's a lot of money. If you work or you live with someone who does work and they have to take off from work due to sickness or illness, up to $1,700 a week, 4 to 6 weeks a year. Yeah, that is a lot of money, $46,000. And in that third cluster, we have in there lots of money for seniors and free internet for all, farmers checks, independent contractors checks. When we get to the seniors checks, this is specifically what Bernie was calling sabotage on Sunday morning broadcast news. He wants to do dental, vision, hearing, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, the Medicaid gap fix that will provide a workaround plan to provide uninsured people in those 12 Republican holdout states insurance. Can you imagine that they still do not have insurance? I'm recording this over a year later. That is why it's great news that I got you a fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state, because where I say items like there's no free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities, it's just mind-blowing. We still don't have something so simplistic to get done. Now, when we talk about the Build Back Better Act, when and how? White House insiders say they're going to call this for a vote by Memorial Day weekend. Why is it likely to happen this time, with the negotiations wrapping potentially by May? Because the midterm elections are in November. But you don't vote in November, you vote 3 months ahead of time by mail. That's why you need to get the check out by the summer. To get it out by the summer, you need to solidify the negotiations now in the month of May. That's why it's always important for you to advocate. Advocate to those legislators like Sanders, Schumer, Warren, Wyden. Tell them what you want in them. Tell them what you need in that Build Back Better Act. Casey, Coons, Wyden, and Sanders. Meantime, also something else to advocate for, you know what I'm about to say. Hashtag Joe Make the Call. Advocate for this one easily, because this one's a no-brainer. It's easier, much easier than Build Back Better Act. What is it? Joe Biden, when running for President of the United States and as President of the United States, as platform of JoeBiden.com, said he was going to swap COLA for inflation if you're on benefits. This is so important, so needed. Bezos spoke about this. Jay Powell spoke about it, and Joe Biden spoke about the need to help the most struggling economically right now. Who are those people? Those are low-income individuals and people on benefits who are impacted most by rising inflation. When inflation's out of control, like it has been at 8% since the month of December, that hits the lowest income people in the United States, lowest income generating individuals, and the most people on benefits. Because your benefit check doesn't move when these costs of items go up. Because why? You're tied to COLA. COLA gave you a 5% raise last December, but you got cheated. It should have been tied to inflation. If Joe Biden makes that swap from COLA to inflation right today, by contacting the Social Security Administration head, saying swap COLA for inflation, you get $200 more per month, approximately, because inflation is currently 8%. If inflation tracks at 4% later this year, that would be another $100. That's SS300. So hashtag Joe Make the Call is starting to trend on social media once again. Take this video, tag your elected officials, tag Joe Biden, tag the progressives, hashtag Joe Make the Call. Make that swap from COLA to inflation. It doesn't require a vote. It doesn't require an act of Congress. All it requires is a phone call. Picking up the phone for Joe Biden and contacting the Social Security Administration head and saying, hey, this is your president, swap COLA for inflation, and everyone's benefits would be impacted 30 days out. And then again in December. And if my projections about inflation are correct, then guess what's going to happen? Your benefits would nicely go up. Jay Powell will be speaking by the time that this broadcast is over, but before evening's LA. And what do I expect Jay Powell to say? I can almost write the script for you right now. I'm getting inflation down to 2% later this year. We have a lot of tools in our toolbox that maybe work. And we're very attentive to the situation in China and Ukraine. But we think that price stability is very important in the United States. And when we do that, we think that we will succeed in achieving a lower situation. But we're not doing 3/4 of a basis point. We'll do half. We're not going to tell you how many, but that's what we're looking at. I told you, I told you, I could tell you his running pitch, and how much of that is true. Well, his projections of what his interest rate spikes is true, but other than that, the whole rest of it is just laugh a minute. It's just laugh a minute. Jay Powell's not going to get inflation down to 2% later this year. He just keeps on saying that. Keeps on saying that. He's not going to be able to walk the walk to the talk because he does not have any tools in his toolbox at the Federal Reserve, as chairman of the Federal Reserve, to get down inflation when it's when it's caused by that subvariant of Omicron in China, when it's caused by Putin invading Ukraine, and when it's caused by coming out of lockdown in the United States. Let's go over each of those three supply chain disruptions right now, because we have breaking news on all those three fronts. Number one, coming out of a lockdown in the United States was supposed to be the only supply chain disruption of this year until Omicron came around. Now it's coming back to that first supply chain disruption. Why? Because there's hotspots. There's major hotspots. Yesterday I said that Dr. Fauci was giving us guidance about those hotspots. Now I don't even need to see him. I can run the quotes from the governors. Governor of New York is now recommending, the mayor of New York is now recommending masks to be put back on in New York. It's not an order yet, but there's a major surge of Omicron subvariants in New York. Number one. Number two, Putin invading Ukraine. He ain't getting out of Ukraine anytime soon. And the disruption of the harvesting of the products and the wheat and the grain is not going to be solved tomorrow if there's a ceasefire, because those crops have been lost for months to come. The crop season is gone this year and will not be back next year because the fields are desecrated by the acts of war. Number three, China's coming off of lockdown. China will be back to business in early June. And with that, it will bring down the price inflation of goods that we make there and ship back here, or that we buy there and we put in our products, like Apple, that reported a down projection for Q3 this year because they can't get those component parts. Good news, but also bad news. China, when they come back out of lockdown, what they'll be doing? They'll be driving and driving. One of the biggest consumers of gasoline internationally, they're going to drive up the shortage of gasoline once again, and you're going to see Brent crude go from 112 today to 120 is what my projections are. And if you remember this channel, you saw the membership newsletter last night. Price of gasoline in the United States has suddenly ticked up very quickly. It was $4.14, I think, on Friday. Then it was $4.40, I think it was last night. We're not even at 120 a barrel for gasoline. What does this mean? This all means it's good news for your Build Back Better Act. Also good news for your SS300. So take this video, tag your elected officials, tag Joe Biden, say, Joe, make the call. Hashtag Joe, make the call. He needs to swap COLA for inflation. He needs to do this. This is not a political move. This is not requiring congressional action. This does not require a vote. Does not need a Republican. Does not need a Democrat. Does not need Joe Biden. Does not need Jay Powell. Does not need Sirloin. Does not need anyone. Pick up that phone and contact that Social Security Administration head and say, this is your president. You need to pay people more money. Swap COLA for inflation. Start using inflation as the benchmark this month, and that would lock in 8% because Jay Powell has not yet gotten inflation down. And then if I'm right, that inflation is 4% later this December, you'd lock in another $100. That would be $3,600 more per year per viewer. That is on benefits like SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits. $3,600 more per year. Had this been done in December, which was 6 months ago, you would have already gotten 6 months at $300 more per month. Yeah, that would have already given you a nice chunk of change. So don't wait on this, Joe. Make the call. Hashtag Joe, make the call. Now, the great news across this horizon is that Joe Biden has made the phone call for something else, and that is student loan debt forgiveness. That's 7 stimulus. And the latest details today on that front is that more money could be coming on that horizon. A lot of viewers have gotten a lot of money on 7 stimulus before we go to those 4 stimulus checks coming up in just a second. Viewers have gotten a lot of money, like Chef John Meyer got his debts forgiven. The president has forgiven the following debts for student loan borrowers, of course, federal. They are individuals who became disabled after graduation. People who went to work in the nonprofit sector after graduation, forgiven. Public sector, forgiven. People whose debts were procured by fraud by the university against them, forgiven. And then, if your debts were in default, they're put back in a good standing. If your debts are due in May, they're not due to September. And finally, the president says, I'm considering more debt forgiveness. Most insiders believe it's going to be $10,000. That's what I believe as well. There's a series of words that I need you to write down and a place that I need you to go to if you want to learn more about your student loan debt forgiveness. Viewers are always asking, where do I get my debt forgiven? First, I want you to go to the Department of Education's website. It's a .gov website run by the federal government. Look at all the press releases. Look at everything that Miguel Cardona has said since April. Then I want you to write down the following words: the IDR credit. Next, I want you to also look at the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Then write down the income-based repayment programs. What Labor's trying to do, Department of Labor is trying to do, is Department of Education, is what they're trying to do is change the legislation's coding, the words of the statute, so more of your debts will be forgiven. If the president forgives $10,000 per borrower, which I believe he will, it'll wipe away $321 billion of federal loans and eliminate the entire balance for the remaining 12 million residents. You know how big that feels? I mean, that spurs growth. People do not have to pay $500 or $600 a month on their student loan debts. Suddenly you have that money to spend on the economy. That spurs growth, that prevents a recession. Yesterday, someone that I know, the head of Snap, which is a publicly traded company, announced here in Southern California that he and his wonderful wife were paying off the student loan debts of all the graduating university students in that local university. The images, as you see on them on Twitter in the last 24 hours, are overwhelming. The ability to have financial student loan debt wiped away and have your life back to normal is a wonderful feeling. And if you look at their faces when they saw that reaction, God bless them. And thank you to that wonderful man and woman for the Evan Siegel and Miranda Carr for that incredible act of kindness for those very, very artistic individuals at Otis, I believe it was Otis Parsons School here in Los Angeles. Congratulations to them across the board. Now, let's go back to the great news for you, is that I have found it. I have found it, and that's what I do. What I've done over the last 2 years is get people big money. All types of people: SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits, single individuals, married people, homeless people, people with 75,000 annual income, people with less income. I've gotten people big money, and what I did in late March was I understood that Congress was not getting their acts together, was not getting Build Back Better Act out the door, and I knew you need money. So what did I do? I spent hours a day, every day, researching the news to deliver to you in the way you see it presented today. And in doing that, I also searched for stimulus checks, and I found them, one after another after another. 4 stimulus checks have landed in every U.S. state, and you're not going to see this in anywhere else because no one takes the effort to research this or deliver the news to you comprehensively like LALATE. A 4 stimulus check is now in every U.S. state. In the second half of this video, I'm going to go over those checks for you. How do you get it? Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, join this channel as a member. The member join button is under the video. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Then get that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, delivered via the YouTube alert system. And in the second half of this video, we're going to go over those incredible checks. Check A, Check B, Check C. There are 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. You deserve them, and I'm going to show you how to get them. Get ready with all those details, and during that commercial break, if you're not a member, become a member right today. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, it's a big afternoons. We're just getting started, and I'll see you back in 60 seconds as Afternoons LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more.
Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now on a big, bold, beautiful day of afternoons LA from the shores of Santa Monica, California. How are you? Welcome. It's a big day for May 17, 2022, as a fourth stimulus check has landed in every U.S. state, and I'm so excited to show you where it is. We're going to go over that incredible check right now. Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. And step 3, get that newsletter Monday through Friday. Always bring that newsletter with you when you watch the videos, because if you follow along with the written words, almost like a transcript of what I say on camera, but with more detail, it makes it so much simpler. And with that, let's go over the incredible great news starting right now. Let's understand how we got here before we understand what it is. We got here because I looked for this stuff. It was not front page news. The President of the United States, in a series of buried news releases, press releases from the White House press corps, announced these items slowly, one at a time, at different days, starting in late March. It certainly came, in my opinion, as the president understood that Build Back Better Act was not getting done, nearly less than a year after it was first announced, and he needed to get money out to you. He mentioned one of them in a press conference, but he did it really in passing, so I had to search for it, and I found it. Hours of research go into every recording on this channel, and that's why you're not going to see this anywhere else. During the thick of the pandemic, broadcast media, print media never went over EIDL grant, EIDL loan, PPP, LWA, never went over any of those very elaborate, massive payouts of checks, first stimulus and second stimulus checks. I did. Guess what's happening again? I'm covering the four stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state, and they don't even acknowledge that they have even existed. Or they don't even cover it. They rather cover Elon buying Twitter. So with that, let's go to the incredible great news across the board. The four stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state are huge, number one. Number two, you qualify for them. If you got a third stimulus check, then you are in the zone of income qualification. Let's start with the notion of what's going on. A fourth stimulus check is now in every U.S. state, and it's not just one. You're going to see each of them one at a time. And whose income qualification does this go for? The same people who got a first, second, and third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 or less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, you can get it. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Veterans Benefits, you can get it as well. What are the checks? The first check is Check A. Go get it. Check A is a $6,500 to $12,000 fourth stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less. Married couple, $150,000 less. It's called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. Go get it. How do you go get it? First, you subscribe. Step 2, join this channel as a member. Member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP member. Step 3, open that newsletter Monday through Friday. Go right into that newsletter and go down to Check A, the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check, and you click the link. It sends you right into the nationwide website, then choose your state, then choose this grant, and apply. So simple, you are done. Check B is a fourth stimulus check, also in every U.S. state. Look at this massive payout. This is a lot of money, folks. I don't play games here. I'm not here to get you $200 stimulus checks. I'm not here to get you $600 stimulus checks. I'm here to get you $80,000 stimulus checks, as I have for viewers of this channel. It's $15,000 to $80,000 check B, and it is a fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state called the Homeowners Grant. How do you get it? Subscribe, join the channel as a member, get that newsletter, and go right in that newsletter down to Check B. Then at Check B, there's another link to go apply. Click the link. It sends you into a different website to apply. Sends you to your state. Goes into the state application, and you put your name in and address and information, and you apply, and you're done. Everything is put together simply for you in that membership newsletter. There is another forced stimulus check in every U.S. state, and that is Check C. Check C is not one check, but a group of checks. It is rent, it is utilities, it is mortgage assistance, and it's multiple versions of the same check, because guess what? Step 1, you go into the membership newsletter, and then step 2, you go down to Check C, and there I tell you the 15, repeat, 15 places you reach out to apply. And when you reach out to 15 places, you apply at 15 places, so you can potentially get up to 15 checks. But generally, it's about a 50% approval rating. So you're going to reach out to all utility companies, all the nonprofits featured in the newsletter, and also all the government agencies. And you apply for that forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. The sums of money for that Check C are huge, $2,000 a month on average. Direct deposit, an MSC check, monthly stimulus check, is what viewers are getting from that Check C. But some viewers are getting a lot more money. Yes, it's an MSC that comes by direct deposit, averaging $2,000 a month over 12 months, and it is huge. And those are the 3 checks that are in every U.S. state. Let's recap. Check A, Check C, and Check B. Now, there is also a forced stimulus check in some U.S. states, not all. That is also Check D. It's not in all U.S. states. It's in 24, but likely to grow to 40. This is a little bit different. This does not require an application generally. Generally, when I mean generally, it's about 10% of the time you do have to do something, but the rest of the time you don't. And this is a smaller check. This is in the hundreds of dollars. And that Check D is detailed in the membership newsletter. In that membership newsletter, go down to Check D, then check your state. I have a list of states that are doing Check D so far. You can go right in there and check if your state is doing a Check D as well. That is why the value of the membership is so important, because that forced stimulus check now is in every U.S. state. It's important to go get it and it's important to pounce across the board. Now, let me go over some reaction to some wonderful messages I got in the last 2 days. Viewers have been sending me wonderful messages of big success stories that they've gotten from these big forced stimulus checks in every state, A, B, and C. And if you're in the live chat, please post your success story across the board. These people are both members and non-members. These are both people who are new to this channel and long-standing viewers of this channel. These are people who got money originally from forced stimulus checks and have gone back and gotten more. I've had a lot of viewers who understand what I say in the videos, which is do exactly what I say. I specifically say don't do a version of what I say. Why is that so important? Because people think that once you get some money, just call it a day and move on. No. I always specifically tell you that there's no written rule that once you get a check, you can just move, you have to move on. Not at all. These viewers haven't moved on. They continue to get more checks. These viewers haven't moved on. They can continue to get more checks. What about Nisi? She got $23,000 last year. Then she's gotten about $8,000 5 more times since then. She's gotten about 3 new rounds of checks this year alone. Almost a check every 2 months. In addition to the checks she was already getting. Why is that? Because she keeps on going back and applying, pouncing as a purple hawk. This is why this year is so different than last year. But in many regards, it's like 2020. I don't like to look back too much, but I also want to give you a reference point. In 2020, when the first stimulus package was announced, there was PPP, you had to apply. There was EIDL loan, you had to apply. There was PUA and FPUC, massive sums of money, in some cases up to $200,000. For people who didn't do that and just wait around, all you got was $1,200. $120,000 versus $1,200. Big difference, isn't there? Yeah, it's about 4 zeros right behind it. That is why 2020 sort of resembles 2022. In 2021, some people were just sort of happy with that third stimulus check. Not my viewers, because when third stimulus became law, the average view of this channel got $45,000. What happened to people who were not viewers at the time? They got a $1,200 check, and then 2 months later, they were looking for more money. And I said, welcome to the channel, because I'm going to show you how in third stimulus I can get you upwards of $45,000. You see a reoccurring theme? The reoccurring theme here is that my job is to show you where to get that money. My job is to defy every type of broadcast, print, or electronic news you see anywhere else that doesn't tell you about this. Why? Because they don't care. They rather run a Kardashian or an Elon or a Twitter story. They don't carry this. It's not what is in their nuances of broadcast stories. I cover it because this is how I care about you. This is how we care as a family. And together we work together as one to get these checks. When I see you're struggling because Build Back Better Act is not passed, what did I do in March? I looked high and low to find more checks, and I got them. I also gave you clear indications, economic projections of where this economy is going, because there's nothing worse than not knowing what's on the horizon. Last year, I taught the notion of financial independence comes from financial information. If you know where this economy is going 6 months before it's there, and you know that better than your neighbor, you're going to be in a lot better situation. Well, I can give you a lot of examples, but I'll stay with the most recent one, which is recession. I've been telling you we're going to go into recession in 2 years, for 2 years, starting next year. I've been telling you that since February. And I've also been telling you that this year is going to get worse. It's going to start where it is now, and it's going to continue to get worse. I've also told you, you're going to see a lot of stockbrokers, a lot of financial analysts saying, we're back and we're rebounded in June or we rebounded in July. No, you're not going to be rebounded. It's going to be a pop back up and then a big blast back down. Every few days, I get a message from different sporadic people on social media that says, I'm about to be evicted. I'm about to be homeless. I'm about to lose my home. I'm about to do this. And sometimes as a new member, sometimes as a new viewer, and I welcome you greatly. And I say, okay, now we're going to change it around. You're going to get some money right now, and you're going to be ahead of the ball game. You're going to be ahead of the ball game. For long-standing viewers, that generally never, ever happens. Why? Because I tell you, hoard the cash. If there's something I want you to hoard, it's not Brussels sprouts recipes. No. It is not chocolate cake recipes. No. I want you to hoard cash. If I can get you a wad of cash, you hoard it, and you put it away, and you save it. And that is why I've been recording so many videos about how to get the money and how to put it away. And for anyone who sits by a mailbox or stands by a mailbox and doesn't want to do anything and wants to spend their time on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or social media talking about, there's nothing, guess what? That's usually the first person that's evicted, because that person did not want to go get the money that was available for them. In the case of 2022, this is now. Yeah, you may have seen something you had to do last year or didn't have to do last year, but this is now. And this economy ain't last year's economy. As Amazon and Walmart said in the last 2 weeks, this ain't last year's economy. This ain't 2 years ago economy. The things are done differently, and things are always done differently with Congress, always done differently with politics, but not done differently here. Because when checks are available, I find you the checks. I deliver the news of the checks as soon as I find them, as I did in the case of check A, as I did in the case of check B. And C, as soon as I found them, I immediately featured them in the newsletter on March 31st, on March 4th, and back in 2021. And with that, remember that those checks are available for you right now. Get them. Go to the top of the chat and subscribe. Then become a member. Then get that incredible newsletter on Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alerts. Make sure you go to that bell at the front of the channel, hit the bell, and send it to all notifications and get that 4 stimulus check in every U.S. state. Meantime, join me tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for America's most watched show for financial news in prime time. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, tonight, it's going to be a big show. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day, and stay with LALATE for more.